Welcome back to Maximum News. 3 pieces of important information off the bat. Sorry that we weren't here last week. We only had one possible day and time that we were able to record, and it was because my washing machine decided to give me a hard time that we weren't able to record that day, so we had to postpone. And it was mostly just because of the reason why I didn't have any other time beyond that is because Silent Hill 2 Remake was coming out the next day, and if you know anything about my personal YouTube channel, you knew that that had to take precedence, because that's like Silent Hill is the thing that I'm known for primarily on YouTube. And before any of you ask, no, we're not talking about that today or my thoughts on it. Those will all be in my review, which I intend to release on Tuesday at the latest on my personal YouTube channel. And then 3, what's the other thing? Oh yeah, we're looking to probably keep this a little bit short because sitting at a chair for like the last 2 weeks, just working on video stuff, and the Silent Hill 2 Remake is doing a number on my back. So yeah, you probably, if you watched me stream Silent Hill 2 Remake last Sunday, I think it was. Gosh, it's been almost a week since then. You would have heard me talk on stream about how much my back was killing me. Well, the same thing's still happening, so we're just gonna power through this. Same thing with Syby's not feeling all that well. But yeah, that's we're just gonna go through all this sort of stuff. But quickly, Syb, how are you doing beyond the stomach stuff?
Well, it's as everybody knows, in the land of eternal summer, in Canada, we do have the Big Turkey Day.
Oh
This
yeah.
as well.
Oh
So
gosh, yeah.
yeah, I know you've been kind of disjointed from that
Right, because I've been
tradition a
stuck
little
in
bit.
the U.S. Yeah, but you know what? A funny fact. I am actually going back to Canada for Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, you better get going because it's only another day or two. So
No, I know, I know. I pretty much plan to finish doing the majority of the work on my review tomorrow, and then should be good to go on Monday.
yeah,
Um,
we typically eat on Sunday, so that's when we're
oh,
going to
right
be
on.
doing a big meal on that day. But then we're also going out to meet a couple other people on the Monday. So it's crazy, and yeah, you can review the news if you have the holiday off, or
Yeah,
you can yeah, just hop along with
yeah.
us next time.
Where the hell did the eternal summer, the land of eternal summer, come from?
That is from a bit which I believe is from the original Clone High. I could be
Oh,
wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's there, or it's one of the other places where it's like there's a joke made about, like, Canada being the land of eternal summer, because it is just absolutely not that
right. It's
in
like calling
Marvel universe,
it's like calling Borneo a good place to go skiing. I mean,
right?
you could try doing it there, but yeah, your mileage may vary, particularly when you fly off your skis and go headfirst into a tree. But anyway, you guys are here to hear us talk about the weather and all that stuff. You're here to hear us talk about video game news, and we got a few things. Probably going to be a shorter show than normal, but some pretty good stuff to talk about. Anyway, side. It's October 12th. That's the day that we're recording this. It's coming close to the end of the year. You know what the end of the year means? It's the time to start making our top games of the year list. Have you
Yeah,
got like any like contenders so far?
yeah, and it's so for oh, stupid dogs. So for one of the so breaking it up, I try to break it up into a number of things because there's a lot of stuff that comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to shout out. I think I shouted it out last time, but Mechabellum has come out. That is a very small, although sometimes resource heavy because of all the units on the map. That is a small auto chess battler game that just came out. It has been in early access for I think almost 2 years now. Um, it's like I do like some mindless games when I have to like sort through stuff in my head, because like I'm literally like working on like crunching like large problem solving and stuff like that. So
Sure.
yeah, having something like that is solid. Um, I believe that, so that's my pick for like small game.
Yeah.
And then I do have Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I think that was one of the better ones that came
Ooh,
out this year.
good call. Good call.
Yeah, early in February, so a lot of people forget that it's time for it. And then probably my number one game is as of yet to come out, which will be Mech Warrior Clans Invasion.
Yeah, doesn't that come out like any day now?
In a few days.
Yeah, nice, nice. You set some time aside to play it.
Excuse me. It comes out literally the day I have to go back to work after the holidays.
Oh, jeez,
It's
man.
so annoying. I'm like, could you guys have timed that any worse?
Tell me about it.
Sorry, I had to cough there.
It's all right.
But yeah, it's looking to be one of my favorites. I think it's got a good formula because what they've done is they've basically made the game from the previous game, but made it stand alone. So it's essentially like working on a DLC. You got all the tools there, and they just add more stuff that they've been wanting to add on top of it, which is a way that I think a lot of games should be made. I really do think that there's a lot of games that should be remade in that context, because it's very stupid to just like hey, we've got this engine and this game experience exactly where we want to be. It's amazing. It's great. Time to abandon that engine and work on a new game in a new engine.
Mm-hmm.
And that does, like, it's not for everybody, but I think there are a lot of cases where this would be better. So I mean, it could be an absolute mess. I'll let you know in about a week from now.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, it's really exciting. I'm a huge MechWarrior fan. Have been for a very, very long time. And I have yet to like see like a proper like feel and live out the proper like Clans Invasion. So this is gonna be like really cool, and the story behind it is great. I love it. We'll do a bit of a deeper dive on it once the review is ready to come out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You say it's abandoned an old engine is making a new one in a new engine?
That would be a lot of the other companies making new games these
Right.
days.
Yeah.
No,
And we're
these
gonna
guys
be
these guys are just they're sticking with the engine that they had, that they made the previous MechWarrior game in. That's
huh.
still concurrent. That still is. It just got an update. I think it was earlier this year. So like DLC, like it's great and it works really well. And when I first played it, it was terrible. Like when it first came out, it was really, really bad. It was so motion sickness, it was terrible. But after an upgrade to my PC, and then all of the fixes that came in on the game, I was finally able to play without any motion sickness issues. So I'm like, so now I'm super pumped for the next one because I could
Hmm.
finally play it. And I'm really excited because it's actually legitimately like really good. So
Yeah. I asked, like, I followed up on that because, there's another game that has sort of failed in the old engine, is starting in a new engine. That's Halo. We're going to be talking about Halo in a little bit. But speaking of the motion sickness, Halo Infinite's coming out with a third person perspective, which means you and I got to play. But no, we don't have the time for that. Like, I don't even have Halo Infinite installed anymore. Like, even though, like, I like that game more than most people, I just don't have the time. But anyway, we'll talk
they
about that a
they
little bit
they
later.
really, yeah, they really missed on that. I got words for that whole situation.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute, though. But back to the whole subject of games of the year. So I have a few. Like, I wouldn't say, like, so there's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I finished that relatively recently. It's one of the games of the year because of its technical presentation. It's one of the best I've ever seen in a game. Even though I have a lot of problems with that game, particularly with the way the story was handled, and especially how that scene from Final Fantasy VII was handled. And, anybody who's ever played Final Fantasy VII knows what I mean when I say that scene. But yeah, you mentioned Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I really enjoyed that. Persona 3 Reload, really enjoyed that. Black Myth Wukong. But man, it's like there's so many games that have come out that, like, I would imagine would be like one of my games of the year. Like, but I just don't have the time to play them. Like, I haven't played Space Marine 2. I did play Black Myth Wukong, or did I just say that? God, my memory's terrible.
Right.
Helldivers 2. I did play Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, but that's not technically a game. It's a DLC. I haven't played Dragon's Dogma 2. I haven't played Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. But having said all these, there is one game that I've played that is shaping up to not only be my game of the year side, but probably my favorite game of the last 2 or 3 years. It's a toss-up between it and games like Elden Ring, Alan Wake 2, Ghost of Tsushima. games like that. And it's a game that literally just came out yesterday. It's called Metaphor ReFantazio. Now, I bring up this game because, well, it's made by longtime veteran game developer Atlas. They're famous for games like the Shin Megami Tensei series, probably more famous for the Persona series, at least in the West. Persona 5 is one of my all-time favorite games. I'm bringing it up not just because I had the chance to play it, and because I loved it. I love it to pieces. It's a perfect evolution of the Persona-esque formula, but, without all the trappings of the Persona formula where you're stuck in high school and you can only do certain things. With Metaphor ReFantazio, it's basically like that, but in a fantasy setting. Far bigger expansion to the way that you can do combat in that game. Traditional, like, the music for those games are always amazing. And I'm not the only person that holds that opinion. So if you go over to Metacritic right now, and you look at the compilation of reviews that they've compiled 34 reviews. 37 reviews. 34 of them are positive, and 3 of them don't give a score. And the average score for it right now is a 93. This is just one of the best games of the year. It's one of the best games of all time. And if you look at the individual scores and the reasoning people give for these scores, it gives more credence to that assertion. You got Video Games Chronicle, give it a 10 out of 10. Eurogamer, 10 out of 10. GameSpot, 10 out of 10. IGN, 9 out of 10. Games Radar, 9 out of 10. And just on and on and on. Like if I'm looking at all the positive reviews, I said 34. Only 4 of them are below 90. And all those are between 83 and 89. It's off the chain just how much people are loving this game. And if you need any more proof about why this game is awesome and people are loving it and going out to get it, the game sold 1 million copies within a day, which is huge for Atlas. For certain game companies, it might not be that big of a deal, but this is with the microcosm that Atlas represents in terms of the games industry, that for them is I don't know, it's like GTA. They just released GTA 6 or something. It's absolutely insane, and I cannot be happier. The game is amazing, and I highly recommend people go and play it, because what are we always talking about, Side? What types of games do we want? We want content-rich, single-player experiences, which you can play for extended periods of time, but, not too long. Not like 500 hours of Dying Light too long. But, it's fully polished at release, great music, great combat, great story, great characters, great world. What more can you ask for? You guys have absolutely no excuse to not pick up this game and enjoy it. Anyway, yeah, I did a review of the game on my channel, which I released yesterday. People seem to really be enjoying it. If you have any interest in the game, go and check that out if you want me to elaborate more on what makes it so awesome. Sybe, I think we've talked a little bit about Metaphor here and there on the podcast. Do you have any interest in playing it?
Yeah, I did. I was looking at it earlier today. I was trying to figure out I was trying to figure out the character situation. That was the thing that I never really looked into until I was looking at it on Steam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
on Steam literally an hour ago, going, I should get this, but
you can't customize. Sorry.
Oh.
It's the same thing with all the other Persona games and Shin Megami Tensei games. You got a preset character. Hopefully they get rid of that for Persona 6, because I'm really personally getting sick and tired of it. If the game has one flaw, it's the fact that they haven't given you the opportunity to make your character yet.
Yeah.
So stupid.
As I type in, don't mind me, I'm just typing in Nexus mods Metaphor.
Right.
Just looking at what the situation there is,
mm-hmm.
And appears as if we only have one mod so far, and it changes. I don't know what it does. It's for Vortex. Okay, so there's only one mod for it, and it's the program that lets you run mods through Vortex.
Well, come on. It's only been out for a day. So how
Yeah,
many
I
mods
mean,
can you expect there to
true,
be,
true,
right?
true, true.
But if it gets
Um,
popular enough, maybe there might be a decent modding community that pops up around it, provided that Atlas doesn't, I don't know, have an
yeah.
approach to mods like say Nintendo does.
And the weird thing is that this is like literally like one of the best games that you could possibly hope
Yeah.
for like cosmetics, because you'd have so many options. So yeah, that's the only thing that holds me back from some of these games is like, if I don't click with the set protagonist that they have, it's really hard for me to get into the game.
Yeah,
Like
it's hard.
it's
Yeah.
like mind-numbingly difficult at times. Not always. There's some characters that are better than others, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I think that this is good that we're seeing such a we're seeing a smaller company, make such good progress with this. So I'm glad for them, and I'm looking forward to like seeing what they can do more for down the line. And I really think that they need to give like, EA and Microsoft a run for their money essentially. But yeah, I'm it's always annoying when it's like, if they just would add the one thing that would be kind of cool, especially
Yeah.
when they have so many characters. And I think uh, Fantasy Grand Blue Relink is did that really really well, because there's a lot of characters there.
Yeah, you can pick
So
a whole bunch of different characters
yeah,
with their different weapon types. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like it's hard to sympathize or empathize or live vicariously through a character that is meant to be a catch-all for a whole bunch of different types of people with a whole bunch of different identities. Like the
yeah, it
characters of
doesn't it doesn't work.
yeah, but the characters for Persona and especially this character, they all have blue hair. They're all somewhat androgynous, even though they are male. It's even with the way they dress. It doesn't really make them all that interesting. And they're kind of blank slates as it is. It would have literally been better if they just let you make your character. I don't get why they don't do that. But maybe for Persona 6, who knows? I think it's about time that they do something like that. It's sort of like the next obvious evolution that Atlas needs to implement into their games. But anyway, have you guys had a chance to play Metaphor yet? I highly recommend you do, even if you're sort of on the fence about paying like full price for a game like that. They do have a demo, which is like one of the most generous demos ever. I put like 7 hours into that demo. Other people put upwards of 10, and it's a 100-hour game. So yeah, go check it out, and then maybe go buy it if you're inclined. All right, moving on to other news. Sybe, I think it was like the last time that we recorded, we actually talked about a piece of news coming out of California where they revealed that when it comes to digital storefronts, at least, ones that people access through the state of California, they have to make it very clear to people who are buying games on, say, like Steam or Epic Game Store or whatever, GOG. Oh, no, not GOG. Specifically not GOG.
Yeah,
That
specifically not them. Yeah.
right. That you're not buying the game for you to keep forever. You're buying a license to that game. Well, it seems like we've seen the next evolution in that precedent. Well, you know what I mean. Not exactly, but it seems that Steam is now just taking that law and sort of applying it broadly speaking, because they can see where this is going. Because they are now warning that whenever you buy a game, you're not buying the game, you're buying a license to the game. I think it's safe to say, Sybe, like we did last time, that this is a positive step in the right direction. I don't know if this goes far enough, because I think most people just aren't going to care. I do think that there needs to be constant reinforcement to the gaming public about where the future of games are headed, and if they aren't conscientious of this now and some of the decisions that game companies are making as far as ownership of their games, that things can continue to slide down in a negative direction. But yeah, this is a very positive step forward. I'm sorry. This was your story, wasn't it? I kind of took the reins. Did you have anything to expand upon that?
Well, a little bit. So like it is a step in the right generalized direction. I'll give that giant idiot there some, praise. Um, and it kind of comes and goes because it's like we just had this is what I would call a success. And then like it was like a day later, I was reading some other news coming out of California, and some like new law came out, and I was like, well, there goes my hope for that. Like like they totally hit it, like they hit a good hit on that last law, and then this next law was just absolute garbage. I don't even remember what it was. It was just like it's like yeah, wow, this is terrible.
Right. Broken
But yeah,
clocks are right twice a day.
exactly. So, and and I hope that they keep pushing on this because the move towards like actually owning nothing is I don't think that's a good thing. Like I genuinely don't think that's a good thing. I genuinely fear for what kind of world we'd end up living in if you literally could own nothing because you know Big Brother does and you are just his tenant. It's like that is a frightful scenario when it goes bad. Yeah, so really worried about that just in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as just overall, it's like we need people to be aware of this so that they can understand it. And then when somebody comes out and says, "Hey, I was tired of seeing this notice that I don't own anything, so I'm a game designer, music creator, whatever, filmmaker is like I'm selling these copies. You could do whatever you want with this thing aside from redistribute it." Copy it and redistribute it. But anything else you want to sell it at a garage sale for $1,000,000, you can go ahead and do that. Because people forgot that that's what you can do with older media, like with records and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
fingers crossed that this doesn't turn terrible. Because yeah, I'm kind of worried about that.
Yeah. Well, on the bright side, even if physical media isn't the solution, we do still have places like GOG that do offer games DRM free, which means that when you do buy the game, you do own it. As long as we still have, PCs that can access this sort of stuff and still have accounts, which, seems to be the case. And I do intend to continue to buy games from them. I think I recently bought Spec Ops The Line before Steam took it off of their store page, which, that's what places like GOG are for. All right. Moving on to other games that I still have not played. Man, not Shattered Space. Starfield was my most anticipated game of last year. I think it was for you as well. I think you played a decent amount of it. I only played like the first 7 or 8 hours of it because I just didn't have time to go back to it. And I still haven't had time to go back to it in the last year. I do remember that what I played of it I enjoyed, but yeah, I think I've spent more time reading news about Starfield and stuff going on behind the scenes and, problems people have been having with the game than I have playing the game. And, what I did read about this past week is that a piece of DLC came out that people were sort of curious about. I haven't had the chance to play it. Have you? Shattered Space DLC?
I have not played it yet, despite I think owning it because of the package that we got.
Oh, is it like an expansion pass, like part of that?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
there were a lot of people who had early access to it. Or sorry, not early access to it, just general access to it because they bought the collector's edition or whatever.
Gotcha.
And and now I'm kicking myself because I closed the Nexus page because I wanted to pull this up due to all the the kind of the talk about this. But yeah, right now, like I just haven't had time to get into it. I do want to, because again, I agree with a lot of people who are quite negative overall about the game. I understand that. I understand why people are upset. I understand why there are a lot of people calling for them to move on. But I think that's because it's not it's a Bethesda experience, fully Bethesda experience. But you have to look at Bethesda games not as the release product, but as the product they become after
Yeah.
many years of DLC and add-ons. Like this is a move in the right direction overall for the game. I would say that 100% hands down. Like absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're still not into the main popularity. I don't think Starfield is an overall bad game. It's not, especially if you're a NASA fan. If you're a NASA fan, a space punk kind of person who just loves this kind of stuff, this is the only game that really gives you that kind of NASA, specifically that NASA feeling. There are other space games, but they don't have the same they don't have the same feel that this does when it comes to kind of like you know you actually can see and understand how this stuff is working when it comes to like space flight and that kind of stuff. Of course, there's some mechanics there that could have been better in the game, all that kind of stuff. But for what it is, people do have fun with this, and there are people who are spending hundreds and hundreds of hours in this game, and that's not a bad thing. Some people are like, how could they love such garbage? It's like, because they're not playing it for the same reason that you are. You're playing this wanting, the crazy stuff that happens in some of the other games, or maybe you're playing it because you wanted a fast, hyper twitch based shooter. It's like, that's not what Bethesda games are.
Right. Yeah.
They're
Some
just not
people.
that.
Yeah. Some people just like to boil down what
Hmm.
a game is and why everybody enjoys it to one factor. And like the factor that I keep hearing bandied about when it comes to Starfield is that it doesn't foster the trademark exploration that we tend to associate with Bethesda games, with Fallout, with Elder Scrolls, because with Starfield, everything is so spaced out, and all the procedurally generated planets don't really have anything to offer up. And that's a fair criticism. And you know what? It's
Yeah.
probably one that I tend to agree with. But, as Saib just said, that's not necessarily going to be something that makes or breaks everybody's experience with the game. For myself, when I play Bethesda games, I play games to raid a whole bunch of different interiors, loot, like just see how much stuff I can collect, put it into my ship, put it into my base, and that's how I immerse myself. It's not like going off the beaten path and finding, like little dungeons here or there. That's not how I approach it. That's how other people approach it. And that's great. And if Starfield doesn't fulfill that for you, I can understand why that would be a game-breaking experience. For me, not so much. Now, that might change when if I ever had the chance to play the game fully. Like, my opinion would probably go further down, just given how negative the discourse has been around it. But yeah, I don't know. Who knows when I'll ever get back to it. But yeah, why do you think it, because I'm somebody who isn't at all invested in Starfield at the moment, so why do you say that it goes in a positive direction?
Well, I mean, so I'm saying that sort of as an overall type thing. It's like, yeah, there are a handful of issues with the game that I would definitely put at they needed more vehicles. Like that was kind of like an obviously hugely missed thing. They probably, in my humble opinion, they probably erased this one game cycle too soon. Like the tech that they needed to really do everything that they wanted to do properly simply wasn't available. Like the flying between planets, the just the overall lessen the loading screen, the more creative stuff that you encounter, all of that stuff will probably be here way easier in the next 5 years. So I would have preferred them to go right into making the next Elder Scrolls, and I think this should have been put on the next in the list. Although with the wonderful success the Fallout's had, they probably would have found themselves running kind of short. So yeah, that's obviously a huge problem. Um, but overall, it's not just so the state of the game. I'd say it's like a B minus, right? It's not great. It's like it's getting back towards more of a traditional design element concept of like what they should have been going for from the beginning, but I think that they're still kind of missing a couple of things, and that's that it's sci-fi, but it's not sci-fi like we think of sci-fi. I think of sci-fi, I think like Star Wars, Star Trek, like, sci-fi, Battlestar Galactica, like stuff like that. This isn't nearly as sci-fi as that is. It's way more like, it's way closer to being more like, uh, I'm trying to remember the name of this damn show and book series because I keep forgetting. The Expanse. So
Ah,
it's way more like The Expanse,
yeah.
just without the elements that makes The Expanse great. Like there's so many really cool mechanics, really cool concepts that they should have added. And I think if they had like looked at The Expanse and said, let's make it more like The Expanse in as many ways as we can. We have like, really cutthroat factions, just crazy stuff. You've got giant, like basically they're like giant troop carriers flying around in space that are pulling off these amazing moves and stuff like that. And then when they land and they hit something really hard. It's like I wish that it had been more like that. Right now, this is a game for somebody who wants to explore the cosmos and not really talk to anybody or interact with anything.
Hmm.
If that's your jam, this is a great game. But for most of the gaming audience, I don't think that's what it is there for.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's not, it's good in the sense that they fixed some of the issues with the design prompt that I think will help. I honestly think this will help them going forward in the making of the next few games, because it taught them a valuable lesson about how procedurally built content should be added to the game and why it's important to have that gameplay loop of, you're only 30 seconds away from the next adventure. Whereas that was definitely not really, it was like that, but you had to know what you were doing to get the game like that, right? So it's like if I wanted to fight monsters, there's a whole bunch of cool things that you could do to fight monsters and to have these really like crazy battles and stuff like that, but you had to know where to go to encounter that. You didn't naturally find it like you do in every other Bethesda game. And that's where it kind of hit that missed target there. So I think if they had done stuff more properly to begin with and more custom, then that would have been good. And I do have to say that I think they need somebody in the PR department to probably step down or quit or be fired.
Sure.
I hate saying fired because it's like, oh, you hate the guy. It's like, no, I don't think they're with it anymore. Like genuinely, I don't think they're with it anymore. I think they're kind of calling it in. We saw this mostly with Fallout 4, mostly with Fallout 76. We saw that massively with Fallout 76. Whoever was running their PR department did not give a crap about the experience that players were having.
That was like one of the biggest PR disasters in
It
gaming
was
history.
it was absolutely garbage, and they've had a little bit of that happen recently. There were some people complaining, and then some of the devs kind of got on mic and kind of shot back a little bit, back and forth with some of the people online. And again, it's like they had a good message there. You did have to kind of like find it, but they did have a good message there, and it did make sense. But at the same time, it was kind of like one of those things where it's like this was so late to the party. Like not as bad as it was in 76, but it was still like not the greatest, right? But yeah, I think so overall it's like I think this is a good learning experience for them. I don't think they'll make the exact same mistakes again, but it is Bethesda. So they it's kind of weird. It's like this was very bug free. Like just genuinely speaking, this was a very bug free experience. I didn't
Yeah.
have any bugs that I had like one or two like really minor ones that it was easy to fix.
Aside from
Um,
really crappy frame rate, but that's not technically a
yeah,
bug.
exactly. But again, it's like I hope they have a team that wants to stick with this and wants to make this better. I legitimately do. Because I think that there is something here, but I need them to kind of come up with some like better there needs to be some better stuff. And one of that is like, so they added the ground mouse. It's like, great, this is good, but can we please get like some really cool combat that kind of like really feeds into that, into the vehicle concept. It's like they have these mechs in the history of the story, and it's like, man, I would love to have that mech experience in this universe, right? Like in this universe, it's like, yeah, I want to go to a planet that's been taken over by the terror. What were they called? Terror claws.
I'm not the person to ask. Yeah.
I would love to like just fight on a planet with just like the swarming with it, because then you'd get a game that's actually far more like, Space Marine 2, if that were the case. But I don't know if they have the tech for it. I don't know. There's a couple other issues with that maybe, and it's like again, the game is not bad. A lot of people played this for free because it was part of Xbox Pass, and we're like, that was decent. I got to do some fun, silly stuff. And at the end of the day, that really is what a Bethesda game is about, is like doing fun, silly stuff. Yeah. I saw somebody collect like every magazine they could possibly collect and dump them into their spaceship.
Yeah.
I saw people...
Saw that with potatoes.
Right. One of my favorite things is when they made the giant square, the giant ring spaceships, and then that screwed up the AI because the AI was shooting at the center of the ship, but the center of the ship was hollow. It's like
genius.
Stuff like that. It's like, that is what the fun in this game was about. There was a lot of cool quests. I did the quest to get one of the special ships that had the Mantis, I think it was called, and that just had like that was a cool quest. That was such a cool quest chain. They needed to have more stuff like that, easier to get at the get-go. And I don't know, it would take me a while to kind of reason through exactly how they needed to do it. But overall, it's like, that's what they needed to do. There was a lot of good quests in there, but it wasn't as sci-fi as it should have been. It should have been either way more grittier, and kind of like maybe a little bit more like darker and crazier, but or just like more sci-fi, like just way more sci-fi. Like, yeah, like there's 100 ways that they could have made that sci-fi like 1,000 times better, and I think that would have been good. They have modding tools out now. I am checking the mods, and there's a lot of good ones here. There is 17 pages. No, that's no, I've got the wrong thing highlighted there. Let's turn on the anime. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we've got 462 pages of like stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now too. Like, most of them are just like optimization stuff. It's not like anything really having to do with content.
Yeah. Well, it'll, and that may or may not take off at all. Like, it really may or may not. But yeah, just overall, it's like, it's not as good as I want it to be, but I think as a company, they're headed in a bit of a better direction. I would say that the game was a general success. It wasn't a wild success. And that general success, I'm hoping that they say, hey, just focus in on Elder Scrolls. We want more Elder Scrolls. We want more Fallout. We want more of those kinds of projects. The sooner you can get them to us, the better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm hoping we see more of that because, but I don't think the game is dead. I think that
they're gonna keep at it for like another year or two, but then, who knows how much, like, if they'll bring it back in any capacity. Because I do agree with you, Side. There's something there. It's just the fundamentals that apparently need to be addressed that are sort of different from other Bethesda games that people really want out of Starfield. And I think it can be done. It's just whether the commitment's there like it was for 76. Anyway, we do need to move on. Sorry, we have to move on, man. Sorry. I'm already starting to like feel my back give out. Anyway, next story. Speaking of like game series and companies that really need to make a comeback, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Halo, my beloved Halo. Oh my God, look how they massacred my boy. I mean, like, look, as I said already, I am a fan of Halo Infinite. I do like the game quite a lot. It's just, it's sort of like what we were just saying about Starfield. There's certain things that people ask for from their franchises. Because I'm a Halo buff, it's really hard for me to not want to play a Halo game. The only time that ever happened was Halo 5. I hated Halo 5. I didn't play it. But I did like a lot of what they had with Halo Infinite. It's just the main complaint that a lot of people have with it was that it didn't have a lot of content to, keep their FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. Whereas I have no problem, not having a whole bunch of content to get. I just like playing Halo, right? Campaign or the multiplayer. But because, they didn't have that, the content that they needed, because they didn't have, certain features at launch that Halo needs to have, like split screen multiplayer, like Forge, staples like that, it has really fallen off. And Battle Royale, yep, that too.
Like how they launched that project without a game mode in that way. It's just
and they were going to launch it a year earlier. What were they thinking? Thank God they brought in Joseph Staten, one of the original Bungie guys, to help get it to the state that it was. At the very least, it was like a 7 out of 10. If you're being like relatively objective about it. I don't even know. Forget that I said that. Anyway, the point is we're talking about Halo today because 343 has been messing up. People have really been unhappy with the way they handled the Halo franchise. And so in order to respond to that, they put out some information this past week that sort of confirms some of the rumors that we've been hearing for a while. One is that they're going to rebrand because there's just so much negative stigma to the name 343 Industries that they don't want it anymore. And because they've had to restructure anyway, they might as well have changed the name. So they're no longer 343 Industries, they are Halo Studios. The other thing that we've been hearing for a while, Syb, is that they're switching from their in-house Slipspace engine to Unreal Engine 5. And that was confirmed this past week when they released a development video where they showed a whole bunch of traditional Halo biomes within Unreal Engine 5. And looks good. I mean, it's hard to make something in Unreal Engine 5 look bad. And I am very happy that they are doing that because I love Unreal Engine 5. Plus, if you followed Halo Infinite's development and some of the rumors behind the scenes, you realize that a lot of the reason why maybe Halo Infinite didn't have the content that it needed at launch is because the developers were constantly fighting against the engine that they were building in-house. And they put like $1 billion into that thing. Somewhere between like $500 million and $1 billion. That's some of the numbers that I've been hearing. But now that they're moving to Unreal Engine 5, they can just focus on trying to give us the best games that they can. Now the question is, what is next for the Halo franchise in terms of like what are they going to put out? I wonder, Syb, if maybe the rumor that we've been hearing that they're going to do a Halo Combat Evolved remake of sorts, if that's what they're going to do. It would make sense because you would be going back to roots. Like one of the original developers sort of kind of alluded to, like if they were going to do a Halo 1 remake, what it would look like. I guess maybe he is. I don't think he's directly involved with the project, but he knows people directly involved at Halo Studios right now. And he started saying like, well, there's certain things that we always wanted to do with Halo 1 that we weren't able to do back in the day due to time or due to just lack of technology. What could we do now to make the new Halo like what Combat Evolved was back then, but like Combat Evolved for 2025 or 2026? I would be down for that. Just anything to get Halo back on the horse and back in the limelight, and being able to be a proper contender alongside the Call of Duties of the world, alongside the Valorants of the world, alongside the, as much as I don't want to say, the Overwatches of the world. Syb, what did you think about the stuff that came out of Halo Studios this past week? And do you think that a Halo 1 revisit, reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, is the right way to go?
I don't think so. It depends how they do it.
Sure.
That's always the answer. It really depends on how they do it. I don't think they have what it takes to do it right, if that makes sense. I think, and And that's partially because if you're really good at the Halo game and you've played it a lot before, it takes you like 3 hours to get through that. It's like you can speed run that so fast.
Yeah, I sped run Halo Reach on Legendary in 2.5 hours.
Exactly, right? So there's as far as content goes, there's not a lot there. Now, if they were going to do it for free, as kind of like a hey, we're doing a reboot, and I think that would probably be smart of them to do if they were doing it as a free product and as a way to learn how to like take stuff from their previous engine and put it into the Unreal Engine and get it all worked out, stuff like that. If they did that, it's just a complete remake. It's as much of the original content as they can get in there. They make everything basically in that beautiful new 12K format. If they did that, I think that would be a big win, especially if they give it away for free and then they included a whole bunch of like new game modes and stuff like that for multiplayer and stuff. That would probably be good, and then it would sort of get everybody back into the good graces as long as they could pull it off. Which again, I don't know if they can. But yeah, I don't really know where they go right now. Essentially, with the Halo content, because like you can't regress back to what it had before. People like their cosmetics.
Yeah,
I think they like the way that you play the different Spartans with different like power attachments, stuff like that. Like essentially like really stylizing it very much for your particular gameplay. It's like I don't know where they go from there.
Well, what if they just make it kinetic and engaging, sort of like Doom is? Because Doom doesn't have the power-ups and stuff like that future Halo games had. They could just go back to basics, but make it just so over the top and, make all the weapons feel really good to use and stuff like that. I think that could work. But again, it's like this. Do the people at that studio have the talent to pull something off like that? I don't know. But I'm a little bit more warm to the idea of just going back to Halo 1 and sort of maybe reinterpreting the story so that it can go in new and interesting directions. Like stuff, it's going to be familiar. You'll have Master Chief, you'll have Cortana, you'll have the Covenant, and you'll have the Prophets. But, at least you can rectify the mistakes that followed with Halo 5 and Halo Infinite when it comes to story, and you would be able to have Master Chief.
How about they stop disgracing Cortana? Like,
that's the thing. You'd be able to have Cortana back.
Like, I don't know if I honestly don't know if we could get Cortana back to the way that she was in the first game. Like, it's just so.
Well, that's why I'm saying. What if they do a reboot?
Well, I mean, I want that. Every other Halo fan I've ever met, wants that. Whether or not the idiots running some of these companies as far as the censorship stuff goes, I don't think.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. No,
I'm just talking about the character of Cortana.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the thing, but she's been dragged through the mud so much that I honestly don't know if like we're at that point now or not. But really, like basically what it boils down to is that the leadership on this IP has been out smoking something for a long time, and it's not been good. And I shake my head because it's like, do you not have any clue? Like, just it's just
yeah. Why haven't they been shut down yet? That's one thing I don't understand. Yeah, the show too. Oh my God, what the hell were they thinking?
It's so terrible, despite the fact that the way to make it good is like there's been a blueprint sitting there forever. You just do the thing that makes it good. It's and so that's my qualms with it. Is like they just had no like look at Space Marine 2. You see that? Do more of that.
It's
not
so
that
true.
hard.
Yeah.
You just give them a big gun and lots of enemies, and then you just, you stop trying to put every stupid little quip idea that somebody comes up with at the table. And in one hand, it's like, go back to basics, right? Like what you're saying is like, you're kind of thinking, go back to the actual basics. But on the other hand, it's like when you tell that to some of the idiots running this stuff, like Blizzard, for example. I hate to do this, but the newest Diablo expansion was such a pile of dog doo-doo
Oh, yeah.
that it was just like, how are you in charge of this company? Like, specifically when it comes to like the story, the gameplay, huge issues there. There's a current build out where you can push like some of the highest content in the game, and all you have to do is press spacebar. Just press spacebar. You don't have to use the mouse. Don't have to control the direction. You just go into a dungeon and you just spam spacebar as quickly as you can, and you'll clear the dungeon in record time.
What's the point?
Well, that I mean, let me tell you about the story. There's the story. Tell me if you've heard this before. All right. So there's some people, and there's the church, and then there's the devils. Stop me if you've heard this plot point before. Turns out that the church is actually the bad guys, and the demons are actually the good guys. Have you heard that plot before?
Yeah, it's like every JRPG ever made.
Right. Like it's every bad movie, and like some of the good ones too. It's every generalized plot point that's ever been around, and again, it's I've raged about this with so many other games, right? So many other games, so many other story plot points where it's some idiot is sitting there telling you, "Man, I got the greatest idea for this story ever." And you're like, "Yeah?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'm really a genius." I'm like, "Are you? Okay, well, what's the plot point?" All right, so the plot point is every other game and story you've ever played ever. Verbatim. You're like, that everybody's done that. No. That's the cool part. Nobody's ever thought of this. And you're like, are you high? Everybody's thought of this plot point before. Could you come up with something new? So I think that's like, obviously Bethesda and Bethesda, Blizzard, and 343, they're kind of in this point where it's like, I don't know if they're capable of coming up with something good. Like, I mean that legitimately. I don't know if 343 is actually capable of coming up with a way to actually fix the game. Or not the game, the IP, the franchise. Because I don't know if they're capable of it, because when they do come up with stuff, it's like, hey, look, we're so smart. It's like, you did what I would call in your profession is a 101 basic review. It's like, yeah, we went back to basics. It's like, that's not what we meant when we said go back to basics, and that's what I'm afraid of. It's like we tell them, hey, go back to basics, so they think, oh, okay, so we'll make the gameplay just as bad because we'll incorporate all our current problems with the gameplay that everybody hates, and then we'll go back to the story, and we're gonna change it and tweak it, but just make it like really, really terrible. Like, hey, it wasn't actually actually it was the I don't know, they come up with some stupid thing about like how it's all a dream or something. Like that's the level of intelligence that I expect from these people nowadays. It's like if but that's because, again, they don't understand the difference between go back to basics, the good basics, and go back to the basics of good gameplay, and then make something new with the storyline. Don't repeat the top, I wouldn't even say, I was going to say don't repeat the top fan fiction on the fan fiction website.
Well, don't do that.
Some of that stuff is better than what you get out of here.
Sure, but some of them isn't. But
yeah.
Depends on what fan site you're going to.
Exactly. But I have seen better fan fiction like Halo fan fiction than that slop that they called the TV show. Like just the like it was it was so bad. And the latest story, the latest content of the game, the latest like all that kind of stuff was like it's just not good. It's like you're just missing the mark so bad here. And I really really need you to make a good game that is just fun to play. What was the quote from the guy who did Space Marines 2? It was like and he worked on the original Halo. And he said, I just wanted to make a game that felt like that game that we played back when we were playing Halo Combat.
And I know what you're talking about, even though I haven't played Space Marine 2. It's just, it gets right back to that visceral joy rooted in the id of every male brain, some female, but mostly male, where you just want to tear things up and feel like the ultimate badass because you're wielding the coolest guns and tearing down alien bastards as an archetypal soldier. That's what Halo Combat Evolved was. And from what I understand, Space Marine 2 recaptures that essential feeling. And that's what they need to get back to. Anyway, we've almost gone on for an hour. I'm in an extreme amount of pain. I'm going to have to sort of cut the show there, Seb. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you leave a comment if you have any thoughts on any or all the things that Seb and I talked about today. I want to thank you, Seb, as always, for doing the show with me. Anything you want to plug before we're done?
We're working on some stuff. We're finally like life has calmed down, sort of.
Nice.
It's still not perfectly calmed down. Things are still absolutely hectic for me, and it's like it's driving me a bit nuts.
Yeah.
To be honest, but we are working on some stuff.
Good.
So yeah, we always appreciate everybody who comes and listens in. Let us know what your thoughts are for Game of the Year, because that's going to be an increasingly more deeper discussion. I know 100% that we missed one of the big games this year, one of the big game launches. So like put all your stuff for this year, and I'm going to try to get into the comments this week and start filtering as many of them down, see what we can come up with as far as a community list. So
nice. And you guys can just find me on all the regular forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. I'll put a link to that in the description box below. Make sure you go subscribe, because I do have my Silent Hill 2 remake review coming out on Tuesday, I do believe. And, go check out my metaphor video, like I mentioned at the beginning of the recording here today. It's going to be my game of the year. I have a hard time believing, like, God, what the hell else is coming out? Indiana Jones is going to surpass it. I mean, it might be good, but not metaphor good. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your patience with us. Sorry we weren't able to do a recording last week, but we will be back this coming week. Until we record again, I want to remind you guys, as always, and as per usual, stay yellow.
goodbye.